aussi.
Pas seulement ça, il faut un terrain.
Bien sûr, tu peux jouer sur un parking, au camping, mais l'idéal, c'est de jouer sur un boulodrome.
Bah écoute, justement, alors on est deux, comment ça se passe à partir de 2 joueurs?
Alors, là, on va jouer en tête à tête.
Ouais,
C'est à 3 boules,
ouais.
voilà. On peut jouer aussi en doublette, où là, c'est en 2 contre 2, toujours à 3 boules. Tu peux jouer aussi en triplette, où là, c'est 3 contre 3, mais par contre, c'est à 2 boules.
Bon alors Gaëtan, ça y est, c'est le moment de jouer.
J'ai tracé un cercle.
Ouais, que tu as dessiné
voilà,
donc.
d'un diamètre d'à peu près 50 cm.
Ouais, allez vas-y.
Donc je lance le cochonnet, ce qu'il faut savoir, c'est qu'il faut le lancer entre 6 et 10 mètres.
D'accord,
Voilà.
donc ça c'est à noter. Bon alors je vais tenter une roulade.
Et bien dans le cercle.
Et dans le cercle. Pourquoi? Qu'est-ce qui se passe si je dépasse le cercle?
C'est annulé.
C'est annulé.
Ouais.
Bon, on va éviter ça.
Donc là maintenant, ça va être à moi de jouer. Tu as placé ta boule.
Ok.
C'est à l'équipe adverse de passer la boule.
Wow.
Voilà. Donc là, comme tu peux voir, j'ai repris le point. Ça va être à toi de jouer.
Gaëtan, je te propose qu'on aille voir les points.
Allez, on est parti.
Allez, c'est parti.
Écoute, comme tu peux voir, là, c'est mes boules. J'ai 3 points. Là, c'est les lisses. Ça, c'est les striés. Donc, tu es quand même assez éloigné. Hein.
Écoute, je démarre, mais je vais y arriver, crois-moi.
De toute façon, c'est pas fini. Hein.
Pourquoi?
Il faut arriver jusqu'à 13.
Ah bon, et après 13, ça y est.
Et on a gagné.
I found my cancer 3 years ago. I was 6 months pregnant. I need to survive because I still have my family.
Deep down, I felt something was wrong, so I went for a second opinion.
I did my annual checkup and I was cleared until 6 months down the road, I discovered the tumor.
I told myself that no one's going to help me. I have to help myself.
Whatever the doctor told me to do, I just did it. I did 12 weeks of chemo, operation, radiation, and then followed by another year of chemo again.
My tumor was tiny, just a dot, hiding there. I stopped that dot and claimed back my life.
Life was good then, life is still good, and life will be always good as long as I do not allow cancer to overtake me.
My treatment was successful and I won my battle. So I can count another night of stars. Add one more candle to my cake.
And see my children grow up.
It's been 30 years since I beat breast cancer.
The smaller the dot, the better are your chances. So please stop that dot.
One in 20 women is at risk of breast cancer. Get screened now and stop that dot. A message brought to you by Home Soy 3.0. Soya may help reduce breast cancer risk. Help spread awareness for early detection and don't delay signing up for a mammogram. Find the nearest hospital at stopthatdot.homesoy.my now.
Nin explains the rules of Petanque. The object of the game is to score more points than your opponents. Petanque, otherwise known as boules, is a version of bowls that is very popular in France and in French-speaking countries. It's played similarly to other forms of bowls, but with a few significant differences. Firstly, the balls, known as boules, are made of metal that weighs up to 800 grams each, and players must use boules with a different pattern to their opponents. Players have 3 boules each in singles, 3 boules each in doubles, and 2 boules each in teams of 3. The idea is to throw them as close to the jack, known as a cochonnet, as possible, and is usually made of wood or painted in a very bright colour. The beauty of Petanque is its flexibility. It can be played on any flat surface of any size that you can find, but loose gravel is usually best. There's no standard size for recreational play, but competition areas are a maximum of 4 meters by 15 meters. To start the game, a player will draw up to a 50 centimeter circle in the floor. In competitions, pre-formed plastic circles are used instead. While stood with both feet in the circle, they will throw the jack down the pitch. This jack must travel between 6 and 10 meters for it to be valid, and once it comes to a stop, the match begins. That same player will start from the circle and try and get one of their balls as close to the jack as possible. They can use any technique, but both feet must be inside the circle, and your feet cannot leave the floor whilst you have possession of the ball. In general, they throw the ball underhanded with the palm facing the floor to impart backspin. This is the most effective way of controlling a ball on a loose surface. Once they have completed their shot, it's their opponent's turn to do the same. But here's the catch. The idea is to have one of your balls closest to the jack. This is known as having the point or having the best shot. If you are not the best shot, you must carry on throwing until one or more of your balls is closest to the jack, or until you've run out of balls to play. Remember, the idea is to get your balls as close to the jack as possible, because failure to do so gives your opponent the advantage. Once all the balls have been played, you get 1 point for being closest to the jack, and then score 1 additional point for every ball that is closer to the jack than any of your opponents. In this example, the winner scores 2 points, as 2 of their balls are closer than the nearest opponent ball. In this example, the winner only scores 1 point, as only one of their balls is closer to the jack than the nearest opponent ball. Once all the balls have been played, the score is recorded. This is known as a men, or in English, an end. The player or team who wins the end then draws a circle around the jack, picks it up, and then throws it to begin a new end, usually in the opposite direction. A game is played up to 30 points. The first player or team to reach 13 points wins. There's a lot of strategy involved in this game, and it requires a great deal of skill, dexterity, and strategy. And that's basically it, but there's a few other things you'll need to understand before playing or watching a game. For example, types of shot. There's a few types of shot that players will use. A pointing shot is a strategically placed ball, where the players play the ball to a specific spot, usually in front of the jack. A shooting shot is where a player throws the ball to knock an opposing ball out of play. A lob shot is thrown high in the air and is used to go over other balls, usually with no movement once the ball lands. And a carrow shot is where a player will try and take out an opponent's ball whilst leaving their own ball in that exact same spot. Circle and jack rules. Both the circle and the jack must be at least 1 meter away from any obstacle or out of bounds line. If either lands within a meter of this, the player may move the circle or jack until it is 1 meter away from any obstacle. If a jack is thrown out of bounds, the player must restart the end. Dead. If a player's ball lands out of a marked playing area, this is known as dead and it is eliminated from play. If a jack is hit out of bounds, this is known as dead and one of 3 things can happen. If both players have balls left to play, or both players have no balls left to play, the end is void and must be replayed in full. However, if only one player still has balls to play, they are awarded 1 point for any balls that they have left. This is to prevent and punish an opposing player that is behind on points intentionally playing the jack out of bounds. Measure. If players are unsure which ball is closer, they can ask for a measure. An official, or third party, will measure the distance between both sets of balls and the jack, and they will indicate which is closer by pointing at them. Fanny. If an opponent loses a match without scoring a single point, this is known as a fanny. Traditionally, the loser or losing team are called a fanny, and they must kiss the bottom of a girl called Fanny. There are numerous paintings and statues of a bare-bottom woman called Fanny, but in modern times, the fanny generally buys the winner a round of drinks. It's an easy game to pick up and play anywhere, and if you're good at this game, you can earn a decent living from it, as it's now a professionally televised sport in France. If you found this video at all helpful, please be sure to like, share and subscribe. It takes me ages to make one of these things, and good karma is very much appreciated. Be sure to follow me on Twitter also and share this video on Reddit, but in the meantime, enjoy Petanque. Oh, and don't be a fanny.
Nak makan apa? Gigi palsuku. Nak sate dengan?
Tak boleh, keras sangat untuk gigi palsu.
Nasi lemak?
Okey, tapi tanpa kacang dengan ikan bilis.
Tapi...
Kecil dah keras sangat. Tak ada Polydent, tak boleh.
Cuba esok
Polydent Max Hold and Seal baru. 5 kali perlindungan sisa makanan dan lekatan gigi palsu paling kukuh.
Jom makan.
Jika mulut anda boleh berbicara, ia pasti meminta
Polydent.
Jaminan kepuasan atau pulangan wang anda.
Nin explains the rules of Padel. The object of the game is for you or your team to win sets faster than your opponent. Padel, known as paddle tennis in English-speaking countries, is a variation of the sport of tennis, and is especially popular in Spain, Mexico and Latin American countries. It's a game played as singles, where one person plays against one person, and more commonly played as doubles, where two people play against two people. To the untrained eye, this looks exactly like tennis. But look a little closer and you'll notice some significant differences. Firstly, the court is about 25% smaller than a standard tennis court and measures 20 meters long by 10 meters wide. And the net is 88 centimeters above the ground in the middle. Secondly, the entire court is encased in a perspex wall that measures 3 meters high all around and 4 meters high at the ends. English rackets called paddles, and the ball is slightly different also. The game starts with one player making a serve. To do this, they must stand behind the line, bounce the ball on the ground within the service. This adds an extra dimension to the game and keeps the ball in play for longer. If you manage to successfully hit the ball onto your opponent's court without them returning the favour, you score. And if you score 4 points and are 2 points ahead, you win the game. After a game is won, the other player or pair serves the ball from the other side to start the next game. Once a player has won 6 games and is at least 2 games ahead, they win a set. Winning 2 or 3 sets faster than your opponent wins you the match, exactly the same as tennis. But how else is this different to normal tennis? The main difference is the ability to play the ball off the walls, but you're also allowed to play the ball outside the court itself. If the ball leaves the area of play, it's still fair game, and players can try and leave the court to play the ball. This makes for some unbelievable plays. But like tennis, there's a lot of things you cannot do in padel. You cannot hit the ball into the net and for it to land on your side of the court. You cannot hit the ball twice in succession. You cannot touch the net. You cannot touch the ball with any part of your body except with the paddle. And you cannot commit a double fault. If you commit any of these infractions, this results in your opponent being awarded a point. That's basically padel in a nutshell, but there's a few other things that you'll need to understand before playing or watching a game. For example, fault and double fault. During a serve, you have 2 chances to serve the ball legally. You must be behind the line and you must hit the ball onto this area of your opponent's court. Should you fail to do either of those things, this is known as a fault, and you must serve the ball again. If you commit 2 faults in a row, this is a double fault and your opponent is automatically awarded a point. Let. If a legal serve hits the net before landing in the opponent's area, this is known as a let, and the player is allowed to serve the ball again without fault. Deuce. If the score is tied at 40-40, this is known as deuce, and you now have to win 2 straight points .
Superbly, but it's not that much to cheer about, truth to tell. But it takes something as good as this from the tie.
Seem to be pulling back instead.
Be sure to follow me on Twitter also and share this video on Reddit. But in the meantime, enjoy padel. Nin explains the rules of dodgeball. The object of the game is to eliminate all of your opponents from the game. Dodgeball is a team sport that is commonly played in schools around the world and is played by 2 opposing teams. Rather confusingly, it's played by varying rules around the world because it can be adapted to be played on different sized courts and with different numbers of players. The most common format is played with 2 teams of 6 players, but can be played by up to teams of